What a pleasure to be here. This is absolutely amazing. The last time I did this particular route from Vancouver up to Alaska was on my honeymoon. And I took the Alaska State Ferry. I remember I paid $65 extra so that my new wife and I could have a room. So we didn't have to camp on the deck like all the other backpackers were. So we went up to Skagway, and then we hiked the Chilkoot Trail. These bears, you know, in Alberta, in the next province over where I live, we call them grizzly bears. On the coast here, they're called brown bears, but they're still grizzly bears. They're all the same genetic species that are found. And that's primarily what my talk is going to be about. But I first have to tell you about that beautiful woman that I introduced you to a moment ago, my wife. We met a long time ago when we were naturalists working in southern British Columbia. And this is my very first date with her. And I actually brought those cut crystal glasses. This is like a canard trip before it was invented. We have been exploring mountain regions of the world, climbing, canoeing, kayaking. This is when we were learning how to traverse on glaciers. We went right down into a crevasse in this glacier. Here we are down in a crevasse, about 20, 30 meters down into a crevasse. And you can see these layers of ice here. You could look into that beautiful blue-green ice of those ancient glaciers, and you could see air bubbles entrapped. And I like to think that those air bubbles are the entrapped flatulence of now extinct mastodons. It could be. Look what she's wearing. I think she was trying to capture my attention way back then. Why she paid any attention to me in those days is beyond me, because in those days, I was strictly monochromatic. Together, we learned that mountains are big, they're huge, and it has put my own life into perspective. When you're there, you feel very small indeed. And I think it's important to put life into perspective, to be in these immense landscapes. And that's what this trip is all about, traveling through an immense landscape where we really are put into perspective. Our objective every weekend was to get up as high as we could and set up our tent. And believe it or not, that is an official BC Provincial Parks campground. And the best part about this campground was the view from the loo. You know, think about it. Every time you have that quiet moment, you're sitting in a box with no windows. How stifling is that? Here you can sit here and look up at this grandiose landscape. You can see mountain goats up there. You can see climbers up there. It just doesn't get any better. So, but you know, you don't need to camp in an official provincial park to have a loo with a view. Any place will do. And we heard some rocks falling. So we looked up on the mountains and we saw some goats. Now, I have to tell you, I carry binoculars everywhere I go. You see, look at this. I put them in my pouch right here, so they're always available. And one thing I've learned over the years is you can never share a pair of binoculars with your spouse. I have seen good marriages dissolve when people have tried to share binoculars. Well, look what we saw. Mountain goats. And there's a chance we'll see mountain goats on this trip. I've seen many West Coast mountain goats. And at the end of this trip, or near the end of this trip, I'll be doing another presentation in here on adventures that I've done on the West Coast. And we actually saw mountain goats right down at sea level in Glacier Bay near Tracy Arm, where we're going to be. We saw them right at sea level eating seaweed. Mountain goats, so they must be after trace elements in that material. But we're watching this goat. He got curious, and he came down, and I could hear him just below me on the cliffs below. I slowly stood up, I pre-focused my camera, and look what came into my viewfinder. And I will never forget that, because it wasn't me approaching the goat. It was the patience of sitting there and waiting. You sit there and wait long enough, and nature comes to you. And that's one of the key secrets that I have to share with you about exploring this natural environment. If you wait long enough, stuff happens. Again, these are marmots. And marmots are a large rodent that live up in the Alpine, and they are a very important food for grizzly bears and brown bears. And wherever you see marmots, there's a good chance you'll see ground squirrels. This is the Columbian ground squirrel. They're a mountain ground squirrel. They've got that little splash of orange on their face. Wherever you see these and marmots, there's a good chance you're going to have bears. In Alberta, we may have about 900 grizzly bears. Here in British Columbia, there may be 15,000 grizzly bears. And that's the bear viewing equipment that is set up for you. It's basically just a pad and a log, and you go there with a guide, and you stand and wait. And you just wait for the bears. And sometimes the sightings can be absolutely amazing. So here's a combination of Annan Creek and Admiralty Island. And they've got these viewing platforms, and the bears seem to know they're not supposed to go onto the viewing platforms. And here's a black bear feeding right alongside the brown bears, the grizzly bears. And look at what they're after here. Once in a while, very good at what they do. This guy looks like he's toothpaste squeezing out of a tube into this little hole. He's obviously done this before. Look at how polished the rock is. And then he just reaches out and then helps himself to a fish. Oh, and here's my wife. She went to the outhouse, and then I said, "Stay there, honey. Look at her eyeball. That's her looking." And the black bear walked right in front of her. I said, "Don't come out." And you can see there's a gate here that you go through. And then finally we gave her the all clear. And she very tentatively walked out and looked around left and right. But this is from that site at Admiralty Island when we're sitting on that log. And this is back at Annan Creek. This was our final go-away gift that we had right at the end of the day when we were about to leave, and a bear came in with 4 cubs. You'll see all 4 in a moment, and look at how thin she is. She's just come out of hibernation. You can see her ribs showing through there. She's got no body fat on her at all. Remember, those cubs are born a pound apiece, and at this stage they're about 35 pounds, and she's done it all on stored body fat over the winter, producing milk for those cubs. So the first fish she got, which she acted like John Wayne initially, just slamming the water. Finally, she got one. Look at her cubs. There's 1, 2, 3 right there. She's walking up, and where's number 4? There it is right there. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 cubs. She's what we call a super mom. Pretty exciting, I have to say. And now everybody is wondering, what about the spirit bear? This is the Coyote bear. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. And thanks for being a part of the concept of tourism that supports places like this and our own Great Bear Rainforest that we're passing by right now. So let's go out on deck and grab our binoculars, and we'll see you out there. Thanks again, everybody.